Imagine a company, tens of thousands of employees, revenue in the tens of billions of dollars a year, operating in over 50 countries. It has its own logistics, PR department, security team, and probably a better incentive structure than your corporate job. And unlike most Fortune 500 companies, it has never once filed for bankruptcy. This isn't Amazon. This is a drug cartel, and it has been running for decades without a single IPO. Today, we're answering 10 questions you're too embarrassed to Google, but that are, honestly, pretty reasonable. Because understanding how these organizations work is more important than most people think. How do you join a cartel? Is there an application process? Seriously, people ask this. And you know what? It's not actually a dumb question. It tells us a lot about how these organizations sustain themselves across generations. Cartels recruit in a few ways. First, family. In Mexico or Colombia, many people enter a cartel because their dad, brother, or uncle is already in it. It's literally a family business, except instead of baking pizza, they're trafficking cocaine. In some regions, joining the local cartel is as natural and expected as taking over your father's farm. Second, poverty. At its peak, the Sinaloa cartel offered young men from poor villages salaries 5 to 10 times higher than the national average. For someone with no prospects, that sounds like a dream job offer. On paper. When the alternative is earning $3 a day picking crops, the cartel's offer is genuinely hard to refuse. Third, coercion. Not everyone joins voluntarily. Some people are forced, blackmailed, or simply have no choice because they live on cartel-controlled territory. In many cases, refusing the cartel's invitation puts not just you, but your entire family at risk. But just to be clear, there's no careers.cartel.mx website, at least not a public one. Although at this point, given their tech investments, who knows? Do cartels pay taxes? This is one of my favorite questions, because the answer is yes, sort of. And the way it works is genuinely fascinating. No cartel files a tax return, that's obvious. But the money from drugs has to go somewhere, and that's where the magic of money laundering comes in. Without it, a cartel boss couldn't even buy a house without raising immediate suspicion. Cartels buy legitimate businesses, restaurants, construction supply stores, gas stations, ranches, and even gyms. Why is there so much cash flowing through this random gym in the middle of nowhere? Well, very popular place. Apparently, everyone in this small town is extremely dedicated to their fitness journey. These businesses pay taxes, normally, to the IRS, or whatever the local equivalent is. The government gets its cut without knowing it came from cocaine. In a twisted way, the cartel is actually one of the more reliable taxpayers in the region. Pablo Escobar was at one point one of the largest employers in Colombia. He built homes for the poor and funded soccer fields. Some economists estimate that at his peak, he accounted for several percent of Colombia's entire GDP. That's not a typo. One criminal was responsible for a measurable chunk of an entire country's economy. The drug economy and the legal economy are more intertwined than we'd like to admit. Every dollar laundered through a legitimate business is a dollar that looks perfectly clean to the outside world. Does a cartel have an HR department? Vacation days? Sick leave? Well, yes and no. The answer depends on which cartel we're talking about and how far up the hierarchy you are. Large cartels, especially Sinaloa or the former FARC in Colombia, had complex structures that looked a lot like a corporation. There were recruiters, trainers, and promotions. Literally, you moved up from runner to enforcer to regional boss. Some analysts have mapped these org charts, and they look almost indistinguishable from a mid-sized logistics company. There were no vacation request forms, but loyal members did get perks: houses, cars, protection for their families. In some cases, the cartel even paid for private schooling for the children of senior members. And terminations? Yes, those existed too. Except in this business, being let go often means something a little more permanent. Performance reviews here have very different consequences than in your average office. El Chapo, the head of Sinaloa, was famous for rewarding loyalty generously, but punishing betrayal with death. Classic management by fear style. Except instead of getting fired, you get fired at. It turns out that's a surprisingly effective retention strategy. Nobody quits. How do cartels advertise their products? No billboards, no TV commercials. But marketing absolutely exists, and it's surprisingly sophisticated. In fact, some of their strategies would make Madison Avenue jealous. First, reputation for quality. In the drug world, brand matters enormously. The Sinaloa cartel was known for high-purity cocaine. That was their premium product. Dealers around the world knew exactly what they were getting. A consistent product means repeat customers, and repeat customers means stable revenue. The same logic that drives every consumer brand on earth. Second, eliminating competition. If you wipe out every rival in a given territory, you don't need advertising. You're a monopoly. And monopolies, as any economist will tell you, have enormous pricing power. Third, and this sounds wild, narco culture. In Mexico, there's an entire music genre called narco corrido, songs celebrating cartels, their bosses, their lifestyle. It's essentially free PR through popular culture. Netflix did their part too. The show Narcos turned Pablo Escobar into a global icon. The cartel didn't pay a cent for that exposure. Ironically, the people most responsible for romanticizing cartels are streaming platforms and music labels operating completely legally. Are there performance bonuses in a cartel? Yes, and pretty generous ones. Although the consequences of underperforming are somewhat more severe than losing your year-end bonus. In cartel hierarchy, earnings vary widely. A runner, the lowest level, watching a corner or carrying packages, earns almost nothing. But a regional distribution boss? That's serious money. The gap between entry-level and senior management is arguably wider than in any legal industry. The Sinaloa cartel at its height had estimated annual revenues of $3 billion. That's more than the GDP of many small countries. To put that in perspective, that's more money than the entire budget of some national governments. Regional bosses received a percentage of sales in their territory. The more you sold, the more you made. Sound familiar? It's basically commission-based sales, just with gunfire. Think of it as the world's most dangerous sales job with the world's most aggressive quota system. For comparison, Pablo Escobar at his peak was earning $420 million per week. Literally. He had no place to store the cash. He rented warehouses just to hold the banknotes. And every year, 10% of his money rotted from moisture and rats. He reportedly spent $2,500 a month just on rubber bands to bundle the cash. That's $42 million a year, lost to rodents. The world's most expensive rat problem. What does a cartel do on weekends for fun? This sounds like a joke, But it actually touches on something important: cartel culture. And that culture tells us a lot about how these organizations maintain power. Cartel bosses were famous for legendary parties. Pablo Escobar had a private zoo, literally. Hippos, giraffes, exotic birds. His estate, Hacienda Nápoles, was basically Disneyland for adult criminals. Interestingly, those hippos are still there today. They escaped after Escobar's death and have since bred into a population of over 100 wild hippos roaming the Colombian countryside. El Chapo was obsessed with soccer. He sponsored local teams and attended matches with an entourage like a head of state. He also reportedly loved hosting massive quinceañera parties for the daughters of his associates, complete with live bands and fireworks. But it wasn't just entertainment. Cartels invest in communities. They build churches, fund festivals, pay for weddings of poor families. It's their way of buying loyalty and goodwill from the local population. Someone who received a house or a scholarship for their child from the cartel doesn't call the police. This strategy works so well that in some regions, cartels enjoy genuine popular support that no government program has managed to replicate. It's a classic technique known as narco-philanthropy. Terrifying, but effective. And frustratingly rational from a community relations standpoint. Can you file a complaint against the cartel? Well, technically yes. You can call the police. Practically, in many parts of Mexico, Colombia, or Honduras, the police and the cartel are the same network. Filing a complaint is a bit like calling the fox to report a problem at the henhouse. Estimates suggest that in some Mexican states, more than half of law enforcement officers are on a cartel's payroll. File a complaint, the cartel knows about it by end of day. In extreme cases, the officer taking your statement might personally deliver it to the cartel boss that same evening. That's why there's a concept called plata o plomo, literally, silver or lead, bribery or a bullet. It's the offer made to politicians, judges, journalists, and police officers. Most choose silver. Those who choose lead end up on front pages. The phrase has become so notorious, it's essentially shorthand for the entire system of cartel corruption. Journalists in Mexico are one of the most endangered professional groups in the world. Mexico regularly ranks in the top 3 most deadly countries for journalists, right alongside active war zones. Between 2000 and 2023, over 150 journalists were killed in Mexico, the vast majority of cases going unsolved. Do cartels have their own apps and technology? This sounds like science fiction, but it's pure reality. And the level of technological sophistication involved would impress any Silicon Valley engineer. The Sinaloa cartel built its own encrypted telecommunications network in Mexico. Their own antennas, their own servers, their own phones. No government surveillance. When Mexican authorities finally managed to crack part of it, they found it was more advanced than anything the local police were using. They use drones for smuggling, drones to monitor border crossings. They have their own submarines, so-called narco subs, hand-built in the jungle, capable of carrying tons of cocaine across the Atlantic undetected by radar. The U.S. Coast Guard intercepts several of these vessels every year, but estimates suggest they only catch a fraction of those actually operating. One of these submarines costs roughly $1 million to build. The single cocaine shipment it carries is worth $200 million. That's a 200 times return on investment. Any venture capitalist in the world would kill for those numbers, figuratively speaking, of course. Cartels employ engineers, programmers, and chemists. These aren't just guys with guns, these are organizations with an R&D budget. Some reports suggest that cartels have begun experimenting with AI tools for logistics optimization and route planning. Why doesn't a cartel just go public on the stock market? Okay, this one's a joke, but it hides a genuinely deep economic point. Cartels can't go public because their product is illegal. But strip away the violence, and what you have is a vertically integrated multinational with tight supply chain management. They have expansion strategies, mergers and acquisitions. Except a merger means murdering the other leadership and taking their territory. They even have bankruptcies. The Medellin cartel's collapse after Escobar's death is a textbook case of what happens when a company is too dependent on one charismatic leader. Economists analyze cartels with the same tools as any normal business: game theory, monopoly models, cost analysis. Harvard Business School has published cartel case studies that wouldn't look out of place next to Apple or Walmart. And there's one conclusion that depresses every politician. As long as demand exists, supply will follow. You can arrest every dealer on the street, and by tomorrow morning, someone new has taken the spot. That's why economists like Nobel laureate Gary Becker argued for legalization. Not because drugs are great, but because prohibition funds organized crime better than any venture capitalist ever could. Drug cartels aren't just an action movie trope. They're an economic, social, and political phenomenon that affects tens of millions of people. They shape governments, distort economies, and determine the life chances of entire communities across the Americas and beyond. Understanding how they work, not to root for them, but to understand the world, is one of the most important things we can do as informed citizens. The more clearly we see these organizations for what they actually are, rational economic actors operating in the shadow of prohibition, the better equipped we are to think seriously about solutions. If you want more content like this, subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment below. Which fact surprised you the most? See you next time.